In this video, I'm heading out to Wales where I spend 2 separate days exploring and photographing an interesting and also incredible landscape.
Climbing with the Pentax 67ii. Good times.
I also discover a history about this place that I didn't know much about, but one that has hooked me and has me excited to come back.
So that's currently my sunroof. All sorts of ice built up. I thought this kind of stuff wasn't supposed to happen in England. It says -1, and it's May. I'm thoroughly disappointed, I must say. Anyways, it is 5:45 a.m. Just heading out. Today I'm gonna do kind of a little bit of a last-minute road trip over to Wales. I think the area that I'm going is about 3 hours. Yeah, no real plan, just head out. Got the camera, bunch of film, gonna hopefully go and make some work and do a little video about it and bring you along for the adventure. But gonna get on the road, try and put on some miles, get there as quick as I can, and then spend the rest of the day exploring. So while my car's heating up, trying to get this ice off the windshield, I might as well show you where I'm gonna go. So let's see, zoom out a bit here. So I'm gonna go cross over near Bristol, and then Brecon Beacons is an area that I've wanted to explore for a little bit, so decided that I'm gonna go, this is gonna be kind of my random point of travel. There's a couple towns right in this area. See what those are like. There's a little bit of a story there that I was interested in, so I'm gonna check that out. But then also, depending on how the day goes, this is gonna be like my perimeter. So no set plans, just gonna travel there, see what it's like.
This trip for me really was one of the first since moving over here to the UK, where I went out and put on quite a few miles and explored some places further away from home. And you know, the first day led to me discovering some places that kind of grabbed my interest, and I came out for a second day, which we see later in this video. But it also reminded me of some important lessons when it comes to scouting and finding new locations, and I also want to talk about those a little bit today.
All right, so just pulled over in this town. I'm so off course this morning. I'll be honest, I'm actually a little overwhelmed just because the landscape here in the towns is so unique to anything I've seen in the UK so far, and like really reminds me of Tennessee and West Virginia, some of the places I've been down there. So super interesting. I'm gonna force myself in a minute here to just drive to the original destination, because I mean, could spend days and days and weeks and a lot of time exploring these places. But I am gonna stop. I just drove through this town. There's a ton of elevation, you know, a ton of streets with big hills and stuff. So I'm gonna go for a quick walk, not spend too much time, but I feel like I'd be thinking about this one all day if I didn't at least stop and see if there's anything here. So let's go for a bit of a walk. So just found this frame here, which is actually pretty cool. Love the power lines up in the top. So I'm gonna try and compose something, some nice tones, you know, these yellow lines on the road and then the white of the building over there. Just go set my camera up.
Follow this old river down to where the poppies grow, and drink that cool water till I get my fill.
Actually, just met a couple. Funny enough, the guy said he had family in Canada, so got talking a little bit, but told me a little bit about the history of this area, and they did say it was a big coal mining area back in the 80s. A lot of people would actually leave from here, go work over in like Pennsylvania and stuff. So, you know, it makes a lot of sense. Like I said, just such a resemblance to West Virginia and some of those southern states, some areas there. So really fascinating. Gonna go explore quickly and then get back on the road. Well, gotta say, that is an interesting find right there.
So I ended up spending about the next hour exploring the town, and I created a few more images, but there was one in particular that stood out and really was what I would consider the keeper from the day. And that was this picture of an old, overgrown, abandoned parking lot. And, you know, it's a quieter composition, but it's images like this that to me can tell a big story. And also, one of the things that I love about working with black and white film is even when the light isn't dramatic, you can still look in the environment for these contrasting elements like the light post against the dark backdrop in this image, and it still allows you to create something that has some depth to it.
Okay, so back at the car, spent way longer than I thought I was going to in this town. It's 10:45, so got to get some miles on. You know, today is kind of like a scouting trip. Obviously, I want to make images as well, but I could easily spend the entire day just in this town. But I really, you know, want to cover some ground, just see what else is around here because, you know, for example, this place is going to get marked down, already gave me some ideas, and it's one that I'll definitely return to, this whole area. So want to see what else is out there. Gonna put some miles on and get into Brecon Beacons, check that out for a little bit. And then there is a town just south of kind of the limits of that I want to take a look at as well. So anyways, see what we stumble upon, any more places like this.
I ended up spending the rest of the day putting on way too many miles, and I actually got a little sidetracked when I saw the trailhead for one of the highest peaks in the south, which I then decided would be a good idea to try out. And this actually is just a good example to prove one of the points I wanted to talk about when you're trying to find new locations, and that is just giving yourself time, sticking in one area that interests you, you know, if that's a certain town, and just taking the time to explore it and look for the different possibilities. Because if you're like me and you end up driving around too much, you'll just burn out, and that'll put an end to your day.
Okay, so day two, I guess you could call it. This is the second trip back out to Wales. Last week was my first day out here. And yeah, like you would have seen already probably in this edit, the first trip was, you know, more of kind of turned into a scouting trip, just tried to do way too much, drove all over the place, you know, did some hiking, a bunch of stuff. So wanted to come back out, you know, explore a little more, but just slow things down, you know, find a spot, find an area, and just kind of dig in a little deeper. But done a bunch of research since my first trip out here, you know, learning a lot about this area. It's really fascinating me, so excited to see what we find today.
So I ended up starting my day at an abandoned camp down on the south coast of Wales, and it's a place I wanted to check out. I did end up making an image, but the light really wasn't great. I didn't have high hopes, and the image itself is nothing special. Although I did like the composition, and this is a scene that I think has a lot of potential if there was some dramatic light or some weather, just something to make it a little bit more dynamic. So this is one that'll definitely get filed away as a must return to.
So I figured today it might be fitting to talk about just finding locations for photography. It's something that people actually ask me about quite often. Just, you know, how do you find these places, or how do you find subjects or things that interest you? And you know, this is kind of all new for me here now in the UK, trying to find some spaces that interest me. And I am surprised, you know, how much I'm finding that's kind of, you know, getting some ideas going. And the interesting thing is, like, a lot of people have said to me, you know, oh, like, how are you finding the change? It must be so different. There's so much cool stuff in America and in Canada and stuff. And I think it is a little bit of a case of the grass is always greener, because for me here, you know, there's all sorts of things that are kind of fascinating to me, but you do have to get out and look for it. And that's, you know, that's the same everywhere, especially back home. So I want to talk about that a little bit today as well, but kind of just threw a dart at the map, you know, at the beginning to find these kind of areas. It's not a bad approach, a little bit of Google Maps research, and then you just got to get out there. So gonna get to the car and do about a 30-minute drive kind of up into the valley a little bit and check out a town and see if we can start there. Okay, so this is pretty neat here. Old mine, abandoned mine in this town, obviously all sealed up, but this one's quite well known. I think it's been closed for a long time. Looks like it's just about ready to be demolished, but looking on the map, obviously I don't care about getting in there, nor can I, but there is a road that kind of runs around. Looks like there might be kind of like a higher vantage point. I'd love to get a photo of this with the town in the background. So gonna go drive around, see if we can kind of hike out there. So I just kind of drove up this road here to turn around, but there actually looks like there might be a cool image here. Obviously not these yellow bags, but love all these old pilings, and then the sky's pretty cool right now, just with almost like a silhouette of the old mine there. So I think I'm gonna eyeball this one. Okay, so there's a pretty cool image here with a reflection. Someone just drove up here actually, just give me a heads up saying they do kind of close the gates down there and you could get locked in here. So I'm gonna make this one quick, but really neat sky, pretty excited about this image. So this is the image right here. What I like is, love this little reflection in the foreground with the 105. It actually compresses and it's quite nice. And then including this building here on the left and that one on the right. And then having this kind of center stack right in the middle of the composition. So pretty neat. The interesting thing is, using a viewfinder app on my phone with the 105, it looks great. Little tight framing it up with the actual camera. Trying to just balance, you know, keeping this stack in. You know, if you move back too far, it starts to get cut off. So the composition was a little tighter than I thought, but the coverage on the prism finder I know isn't full, so hoping that there'll be a little give on the actual image. All right, 75 mil. Trying to make this quick.
So originally I thought I was going to like the 105 the most, and I shot the scene with the 75 mil just as kind of a second option. But after seeing this image once it was scanned, I actually think I prefer the 75 mil version better, just with the added kind of dark tones in the foreground with some of that earth there, not having the reflection cut off. But just goes to show it always pays to take a second shot, even if you think you're sold on the first version.
Time to get out of here before they close the gates and we get locked in. Okay, so this is really cool. Better than I expected. Just an amazing view of the old mine here with the town off to the left there. So gonna make some images. Brought the 4x5 and the Pentax. I think I'll start with the Pentax just because those clouds up there are nice. They are moving fairly quick, so I don't want those to go just because they'll add some nice contrast. So gonna shoot the Pentax and then 4x5 if I have some time. So this first one, so that's the 75 mil. Probably a little hard to see. Maybe I'll put them up on the screen in the edit. I do like that one. That one's the 105, so could help. I think I'll shoot it on both lenses. I feel like the 105, the compression actually helps a little bit. It feels like in the 75 mil version, the town kind of gets lost a little bit. But again, looking at it on an iPhone with like a film simulation, so it is a little hard to tell. Okay, gonna start with the 75 mil because that's what's on my camera. I actually did bring the 4x5 up with me, although I don't know if I'm gonna shoot this scene with the 4x5. It's tempting, but maybe this is one that I return to. But let's make these images first and then we'll decide. Okay, now we'll do the 105 quickly here before we lose our clouds. Yeah, this actually does look quite nice with the 105.
I'm actually a little undecided on which one I like best between the two images. Once again, though, I thought the 105 was going to be the one that kind of sold me, but the 75 actually turned out being a lot nicer than I expected. Again, I like how there's a lot more dark tones in the bottom of the image, and it's a nice contrast just with the houses in the town and then also parts of the mine itself. Overall, though, this scene is really nice, and I'm happy with both images.
Okay, so just pulled over, been driving around for a little bit, but I found a pretty neat scene, kind of up higher in the valley now. A little bit of a quieter scene, but you know, there's all these kind of like clear-cut forest parts, elevation, you know, going up and down through these towns. This is just like a small little village, but kind of neat. Gonna frame it up. Like I said, a little bit of a quieter composition, but I like the frame, and the sky's still pretty dramatic, so it actually looks like it might rain, but we'll go check it out, and I'll show you what I'm talking about. Okay, so this is a scene right here. Love how you can kind of see off in the distance this telephone pole right down the middle, and then a little bit of this elevation just with this road running through the town. So I'm gonna frame it up on the 75mm, I think. Should do it. And then there's also another one just down that way. I don't know if you can see it. So there's all these kind of like telephone poles, this mess of them, and I think it could be an interesting composition, especially just being able to see the town off in the distance there. So gonna shoot this one first, and then we'll go see what we can do with that one. I think I'm gonna like this one, I'm not sure though. Okay, go check out this one. So yeah, there's a lot going on here with the speed sign, telephone wires, but you know what, compositions like this are fun sometimes, just to, you know, try and arrange all of these different kind of elements, kind of like taming the mess. So I'm gonna see what potential there is here. Okay, that's it.
So overall, it was great to get out for a couple days and just explore a new area, and I'm definitely created a couple images that I'm really happy with, but you know, at the very least, I think this trip was just a good reminder that it's all about doing a little bit of research, finding an area that you think is going to interest you, but then just getting out there, driving, hiking, walking, not rushing things, and just seeing what you discover.
Climbing with the Pentax 67ii. Good times. Oh, what was I thinking?
So 2 days in Wales, definitely not enough, but I feel like this is the start of something that I'm pretty excited about.